All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to tackle something that, let's be honest, every single one of us has dealt with: putting things off. You know that moment? You know exactly what you should be doing, but you find yourself doing literally anything else. So, what is really going on there? Let's piece this puzzle together.
Yeah, we've all been there, right? Coming up with these clever, sometimes ridiculous excuses for delaying what we know we have to do. But what's actually happening inside our brains when we choose to watch just one more CAD video instead of starting that huge project? Turns out, it's probably not what you think.
So, first things first. If you procrastinate, you are not alone, not by a long shot. In fact, you're in the vast majority.
That's right, 95%. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. In a room with 20 people, 19 of them admit to procrastinating. It is practically a universal human condition. So instead of feeling bad about it, let's get curious about it.
And you got to notice the key word here: irrational. See, this isn't about strategically putting a task off because you're waiting for more information. No. True procrastination is when we actively choose to delay something, even when we know deep down it is only going to make things worse for us later.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because this brings us to the biggest myth about procrastination. For centuries, we've just chalked it up to being a character flaw, laziness. But the science, it tells a completely different story.
So if you've ever beaten yourself up, called yourself lazy for putting something off, you need to hear this. Procrastination is not about your work ethic. At its very core, it's an emotional regulation problem. You're not trying to avoid the work. You're trying to avoid the bad feelings that the work brings up. Boredom, anxiety, self-doubt, frustration.
I absolutely love this quote: short-term mood repair. That's all it is. When a task makes us feel bad, our brain's #1 immediate priority is just stop feeling bad. It's looking for a quick fix for our mood right now, even if it totally sabotages our future self.
So why? Why does our brain keep making this terrible trade-off? Well, it's because there's this primal battle for control happening inside your head between two very different parts of your brain.
Tim Urban explains this perfectly. You've basically got a rational CEO in your brain. That's your prefrontal cortex, who makes all the smart, long-term plans. But you've also got an instant gratification monkey, your limbic system, that has zero concept of the future and just wants to have fun right now.
And when a difficult or unpleasant task shows up, guess who usually wins? Oh yeah, the monkey grabs the steering wheel. It drives you straight to the easy and fun stuff, the land of social media feeds and Wikipedia rabbit holes, because literally anything is better than that awful report you're supposed to be writing.
But here's the kicker. This little act of avoidance, it's not a one-time thing. It actually creates this powerful and destructive feedback loop, and once you're stuck in it, man, it can be incredibly hard to escape.
And here's the trap, right? The very thing you do to feel better, procrastination, ultimately makes you feel so much worse. That little bit of temporary relief is immediately followed by guilt and stress, which makes the original task seem even more scary. So what do you want to do? Avoid it even more.
Now sure, for a school paper or a work report, a deadline will eventually summon what Tim Urban calls the panic monster to scare the monkey away and force you into action. But what about the most important things in life? The things that don't have hard deadlines? Like starting that business or finally getting healthy or fixing a relationship.
And this is the profound hidden cost of procrastination. It's not just a missed deadline. The ultimate price we pay is the deep, nagging regret of feeling like you're just a spectator, watching your own life pass you by. So, how do we break this cycle? How do we take back control from the monkey? Well, the good news is, it's not about trying to find more willpower. It's about having the right tools. So here are 3 simple, science-backed steps you can actually use.
Okay, now this is going to sound completely backwards, but you have to stick with me here. The first step is not to be tougher on yourself. The research is crystal clear. You have to be kinder.
Just think about it. Procrastination is driven by negative feelings, right? So when you beat yourself up, you're just adding more fuel to that fire.
What researchers have found is incredible. Forgiving yourself for procrastinating actually breaks the cycle. It makes you less likely to put off the next task. It's amazing.
Next up, it's time to stop relying on sheer willpower and start designing your environment for success. The whole idea is simple. Make it easier to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing.
This is something called pre-commitment. You're making a smart choice in the present to control your actions in the future. By just adding a little bit of friction to your distractions, you give your inner CEO a real fighting chance against that impulsive monkey.
And finally, we get to the most powerful tool for breaking that cycle of avoidance. It is so ridiculously simple, but I promise you it works.
It all comes down to this number, 1. Just start for 1 minute. That is the secret. The biggest hurdle is not doing the work. It's the emotional barrier of starting the work. So just lower the bar. Your goal isn't to finish the entire project. Your goal is just to open the document, just to put on your running shoes, just to write one single sentence. Once you get over that initial hump, you will be amazed how often momentum just takes over.
When it comes right down to it, procrastination isn't some moral failing. It's a deeply human response to difficult emotions. And by understanding the real reasons we delay, we can stop fighting ourselves and start using smarter strategies. The tasks you choose to avoid can end up defining the very limits of your life. So the real question is, who gets to be in charge? Your future self or the monkey?